somewhere inside a sportsbook's monitoring system, an algorithm flagged something strange. Not a goal, not a red card, a yellow card. One that hadn't happened yet. That's the story nobody expected to be talking about during FIFA World Cup 2026. Not ticket prices, not travel chaos. Something quieter, and in some ways, more dangerous. A growing integrity scandal involving suspicious betting patterns, flagged players, and a tournament that's supposed to be the biggest in football history. So what's actually going on here, and how worried should fans be that some of what they're watching on the pitch isn't entirely what it looks like? Let's start with the basics. FIFA World Cup 2026 is the first World Cup hosted across 3 countries, the United States, Mexico, and Canada. It's also the first 48-team World Cup in history. Bigger format, more matches, more storylines. But bigger also means something else. More games for bettors to wager on, and not just on who wins, on corners, on throw-ins, on which player gets a yellow card and in which half. This is called spot fixing. It's different from match fixing, where the result of a game is manipulated. Spot fixing targets a single moment inside a match, often something small enough to go unnoticed by almost everyone watching, except the people who placed a bet on it. And in the lead-up to this tournament, integrity experts started noticing patterns they didn't like. Here's where things get interesting. Just weeks before the World Cup kicked off, Ivory Coast forward Eli Wahi became the center of an active investigation. According to reporting from The Athletic, authorities began looking into Wahi after multiple notifications flagged suspicious betting activity tied to him receiving a yellow card during a French league match for his club Nice against Metz. The yellow card came in the 35th minute after a late tackle. On the surface, nothing unusual, but the betting patterns around that exact moment raised enough concern that Wahi was brought in for questioning. He was later released, and importantly, he has not been charged with any crime. The investigation is still ongoing. But for a few tense days, this story briefly threatened to keep him out of the tournament entirely. Ivory Coast's federation said the necessary authorizations for his entry into Canada hadn't been secured, before later confirming the situation had been resolved and he was allowed in. Think about that for a second. A player can be cleared to play, walk out for his country at the World Cup, and still be carrying an active spot-fixing investigation in the background. That's the strange reality football is dealing with right now. If you're finding this breakdown useful, this is a good moment to hit subscribe, because we're going deeper into how widespread this actually is. Wahi's case isn't isolated. According to a separate report, 2 more players heading into this World Cup were independently reported to their national federations by integrity experts, completely apart from the Wahi situation. Bookmakers themselves flagged the activity. In one case, suspicious betting volume centered on a player receiving a first-half caution. He picked up that exact caution after committing 3 fouls in under 5 minutes. Coincidence is possible, so is something else. That's exactly why an investigation exists. When asked directly whether match-fixing concerns had come up before the tournament even began, FIFA pointed to its zero-tolerance stance and its confidential reporting system built for exactly this kind of situation. But here's the bigger issue. Saying there's a system in place and actually catching manipulation in real time across 48 teams and more than 100 matches are 2 very different challenges. This matters because the scale of legal betting on this World Cup is unlike anything football has seen. Several U.S. states, including New Jersey, Mississippi, and Oregon, are allowing sportsbooks to take bets specifically on yellow cards during the tournament. Add in global markets, and you're looking at an enormous, fast-moving target for anyone trying to exploit it. Now, this isn't the first time football has wrestled with this exact fear. Go back to the English Premier League, where Brazilian midfielder Lucas Paqueta spent 2 years under investigation over allegations that he deliberately picked up yellow cards to benefit bettors while playing for West Ham. That case dragged on, disrupted a potential transfer, and ultimately ended with him being cleared, an independent panel ruling the evidence simply wasn't strong enough. The bigger issue the Paqueta case exposed wasn't just one player's reputation, it was how hard these cases are to actually prove. Betting patterns can look suspicious and still mean nothing, or they can mean everything. Telling the difference, especially in the middle of a live tournament, is incredibly difficult. What makes 2026 different is volume. The Football Association in England has already issued multi-year bans to lower division players caught deliberately getting booked for betting schemes back in 2018 and again in 2022. Those were isolated domestic cases. Now you're applying that same vulnerability to the single most watched sporting event on the planet, with billions of dollars moving through betting markets in real time. Reports tracking sporting integrity globally have identified over 1,000 suspicious matches across various sports in the past year alone, with a notable concentration of unusual betting activity coming out of Asian markets. That's the backdrop this World Cup is unfolding against. So is banning these betting markets the answer? Some inside football think so. Players' associations elsewhere have already called for cards-based betting to be banned entirely, alongside more education for players who may not even realize how exposed they are to manipulation attempts. But integrity researchers are split. One widely cited report found that local prohibitions on betting markets, including cards bets specifically, haven't actually stopped fixing attempts. The activity simply moves offshore, where it's harder to monitor and even harder to prosecute. This is where it leaves fans in an uncomfortable spot. Would this change how you watch a match? If you saw a player pick up a strange, seemingly unnecessary yellow card in the first half of a World Cup game, would a small part of you wonder why? That's the real cost of a scandal like this. It's not about proving every suspicious card was fixed. Most almost certainly weren't. It's about the shadow of doubt it casts over moments that used to just be moments. For players, the stakes are even heavier. Imagine being a 23-year-old forward, living your World Cup dream, and also fielding questions from police about a tackle you made weeks earlier in a completely unrelated league match. Wahi's situation shows how quickly a betting pattern that has nothing to do with intent can put a player's tournament and reputation at risk before anything is even proven. For fans inside the stadiums, none of this changes the atmosphere on the surface. The roar after a goal, the tension before a penalty, all of that is real. But underneath it now sits a quieter unease, the knowledge that somewhere betting algorithms are watching every card, every corner, every throw-in, looking for patterns that don't add up. So where does this go from here? In the best-case scenario, these investigations conclude quickly, the players involved are cleared the way Paqueta was eventually, and football comes away having stress-tested its integrity systems under the brightest possible spotlight. In a more uncomfortable scenario, one or more of these cases results in confirmed manipulation, forcing FIFA and national federations into a much harder conversation about whether spot betting markets should exist around World Cup matches at all. What seems likely either way is more oversight. Expect integrity units, betting regulators, and federations to lean harder into real-time monitoring as this tournament continues, especially with so many high-profile matches still ahead. Quick reminder, if you want to stay on top of every twist in this story as it develops, subscribing means you won't miss the next update the moment something breaks. FIFA has built its World Cup 2026 messaging around scale, history, and spectacle. 3 host nations, 48 teams, the biggest stage the sport has ever had. But this spot-fixing scandal is a reminder that bigger also means more exposed. More money in motion, more matches to monitor, more opportunities for someone to try to exploit a system designed to reward unpredictability. So far, nobody has been formally charged. Wahi remains uncharged, his investigation ongoing. The other flagged cases remain confidential and unresolved. Nothing here proves the tournament itself is compromised. But it does prove something else. The biggest World Cup in history is also, almost by definition, the biggest target it's ever presented to people looking to manipulate it from the outside.